Hi, hello, welcome back to In Situ-ations, the weekly show where we go out into the Blackland Prairie and teach you about a new plant and also paint the plant. Alright, so the common name for this plant actually stems from the fact that possums have been known to eat the berries, and a lot of people think that these berries look a lot like hawthorn berries, so they call it possum haw. Here's a little, see if we can get a little look at this berry here. So this plant right here is one of our native hollies. You can see right here that there are no leaves on the plant. It is winter time. This plant occurs all across the southeast. You'll find this small shrub or small tree in areas with moist soil, like in floodplains or along streams and along limestone glades and bluffs. So each berry has about 4 to 7 seeds on the inside. Ilex decidua is somewhat resistant to fire and is known to resprout after being top killed by fire, which is when the part of the plant that is above ground does get killed off, but then their root system may still be surviving to come back up the next following year or following season. The berries are considered mildly toxic to people, cats, and dogs due to the fact that they contain saponins. Saponins are found in soap. So unless you want a really soapy mouth and to experience some mild vomiting and diarrhea, do not eat these. Prior to losing the leaves, they are dark green, glossy, and elliptical shaped, about 2 to 3 inches long. Possum haw is usually about 7 to 15 feet tall and in some instances reaches about 30 feet in height. The national champion in 1981 is located in South Carolina and is a whopping 42 feet in height.
Setting up for this painting was difficult. The weather was pretty uncontrollable with the wind, and it was starting to get cold out. You can see that my canvas is shaking all over the place. I mean, you can even see in the back here with these trees that the wind is a bit ridiculous at the moment, but we're going to do our best here. I started off with a light wash here of some oil paint with some Gamsol. Here I am trying to kind of get a basic sketch going. I'm trying to lay out the general shape with just a few lines before going in with some thicker layers of paint. It does take some time to lay down these thicker initial layers of oil paint, and I'm trying to get enough information captured here um, before the weather gets too bad. If I need to, I can kind of get the gesture here, like the initial sketch and the feel for it, and then I can take it back and work on it somewhere where I might not fly away. Something that I noticed about this plant while I was painting it here is that when you're looking at the bark really up close, you can see that there are small kind of dark specks on the generally kind of light gray or brown bark. There's also tons of crust lichen on this species. I wonder if this is a fungus invading the bark causing that black color, or if that's actually how this species is supposed to look in general. So as I was preparing to kind of lay in the berries here, I was thinking about how I was trying to figure out what time frame would be best to cover this species, and it has a ton of visual interest, of course, in the winter with all these berries. But I was starting to notice that even within the weeks um, preceding now, just in the last month or so, the berries are starting to dwindle. The birds are eating them as they should. It's one of their main food sources. Um, but I was losing my chance to really get that full um, look to this. I feel like I got most of the proportions um, and the shape going on here. So at this point, I'm really just going to be rendering this out. It's even moving around on this more steady easel that I've got out here out on the back porch. I did decide to go back into the background a little bit because I had kind of hinted at the eastern red cedars that are over here on the left and also on the right side, kind of framing this. And then we have somewhat of the prairie kind of underneath. It does start getting really cold at this point, so I do end up having to finish this painting inside. I think all in all for this painting, if I had to change anything about it, I would probably go back in and lower the contrast going back into the distance in this, so that as we push further into the distance, the difference in the colors between like the sky and the trees would lessen, and we would have kind of a blue haze or fogginess over that, just to kind of push it back in space a little bit. Aside from that, I do like the composition going on where we have like the diagonal branch, and I think that the berries look alright. Could have done a little bit more rendering, but this project is on a time constraint here, and then this is using oil paint, so it can be kind of difficult to work with. I do think for the next edition here, we are going to work with watercolor, so that'll be interesting. Um, and here's the final product. I think it looks okay with the prairie, the red cedars, and of course our main subject coming through there. Um, what was the deciding factor to call this finished, though? I had a possum steal my paint palette off of my porch, and he was licking it and trying to eat it. I had to quickly scurry him off, so I'm sure he's fine, but it was wild, and I think that was a good sign to be done with this painting. Thanks again for watching, and of course, make sure that you tune into us next week here on Painting Prairie so that we can look at another prairie plant.